President Gene Brown at Vintage Math Science Technology Magnet in Los Angeles. How do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear. It's great to talk to you today, and we're ready for your questions.
Okay, we have great students here who are ready to start asking their questions.
Did the butterfly sent to the ISS on STS-129 develop normally in space?
As we could tell, they did develop normally in space. We had some eggs hatch shortly after arrival. They went through the larva stage and then went into their chrysalises and came out, and they were beautiful butterflies. We did not have them flying freely in the ISS. Instead, we were watching them through a small video camera that was contained within the habitat that they grew in.
How does the airlock work, and how do you make oxygen on the ISS?
Well, the airlock is a smaller room that has two doors. We don't want to lose all the atmosphere in the station, or for that matter, a lot of the atmosphere in the station. We would rather just be very careful with the small room called the airlock, pump as much of the air that we can from the airlock back into space station so we maintain that air. And then we get to making sure that the inner door is closed in protecting the station. We can open the outer door so that the astronauts can go out to do their spacewalk. How do we make oxygen? Well, as you know, probably water is made up of both hydrogen and oxygen. And if you disassociate those three atoms from that molecule, one of the products you get ends up being oxygen. So we're able to break apart the water and get our oxygen from the water molecule.
What are some of the difficulties of taking a shower in microgravity?
Yeah, in space, water is very limited, so we can't have the running water shower. We usually use the towel, the soap with the hot water, and wipe our body. But to answer your question, in the shower in the space, I think the difference between the ground and the space is water goes everywhere. It doesn't go from top to bottom, it goes everywhere else. So just make sure that the water going around like computers or expensive experiments.
Now that you have seen Earth from space, what are you inspired to change and why?
Now, that's an interesting question. I don't know if any one of us have much power to change anything. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we would like to change on the Earth. But I will tell you that viewing the Earth has changed me. I've grown to appreciate the different parts of the Earth and the people that live there and the different ways of life, and perhaps even recognizing that although there are different ways of life around the Earth, there's a lot of commonality in humankind as well. So hopefully we can inspire people to help bring that commonality together and make a better life on Earth.
What would happen if there was a fire on the ISS, and how would microgravity affect this fire?
It's a very important question, and in fact, we just did an emergency procedure training session today, right before our event here. Let me answer how the fire behaves in microgravity. On Earth, you know that the flame on a candle looks like a teardrop and it goes up, and that's because the hot air rises and then goes upward and pulls in the air from the rest of the room underneath and feeds the fire, and then you have that streamlined teardrop effect. Well, we don't have that here because there's no up and down, and so fires tend to burn in a ball. One of the nice things in terms of fighting a fire is that the fire can actually self-extinguish because no new air comes in due to that convection like there is on Earth, and that's one of the advantages we have here. If we had a fire on station, one of the things we have to do is protect ourselves first, and we try to protect the rest of the atmosphere as well. And so we would like to isolate the fire Hopefully it burns itself out, but if not, then we remove the sources that would cause the ignition, like the power sources. And then finally, if we have to actually go fight it, we have fire extinguishers on board that help us put out the final vestiges of the fire.
Listeners make astronauts less hungry because you are using less energy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, we use less energy to move around inside the space station, but we have every day we do the physical exercise 2 hours. So it's hard to tell. And actually, there is a research going on if we gain weight or lose weight, or how much food we are eating during a space station duration. So it's a very interesting question for the researchers as well.
If you get a cut or break a bone in space, does it heal the same way as on Earth?
In my experience, I would say that the answer is yes. It heals because I've had several small minor cuts and abrasions and whatnot, and they heal just fine. I think the secret is to just like on Earth, to clean the wound and keep it clean so that infection doesn't set in. But it's also an area that we are conducting some research on as well.
Does your heart work harder on the ISS because of microgravity?
Our bodies go through several changes, and that's a very, very good question. People are looking at that very topic as we speak, and doing experiments with us as subjects. One of the things that we've noticed is that when we come into microgravity, our bodies do change, and one of the changes involves the cardiac muscle of the heart. And it looks like that we become more deconditioned for whatever reason, and so that the same amount of workload that I would do in exercising on Earth causes me to work harder with my heart when I do that same amount of exercise here on the station. That's what it looks like right now. On a day-to-day basis, the heart doesn't feel like it's being stressed. Give me some work to do, and I think there's a difference between the ground and on orbit.
Would it be possible to grow or use plants and animals on the ISS to provide food and oxygen for the crew?
Yeah, it's a very important question. Actually, we have a very interesting experiment going on in our Japanese module. I can show it to you quick. Our special gardens inside our research module to grow plants. And it is very important plant. Besides, now the butterfly flies in space needs some plants, right?
Are there germs in outer space? And how do the astronauts deal with them?
As far as we know, the germs that can be observed here, we brought with us from Earth. And we do have to deal with them. We have to make sure that the area stays clean, that our water stays pure and healthy, that our air that we breathe stays pure and healthy, that the food is taken care of in a proper way so that those germs don't cause us adverse effects. But as far as we know, it's essentially the same as on Earth. And again, we bring them from Earth if we have them here.
How do you call your family on Earth?